Dear Harstem, I'm sorry, but you're playing an Imba race. I have a million replays confirming that Protoss land is OP, that Protoss air is OP. But today's replay is special. It perfectly shows that Protoss don't even need units at all. In this game I blindly countered the cannon rush, scouted everything I could and did micro, macro, multitask. At the same time my opponent was happily building houses and generally having a great time. PS, it takes you 2 minutes plus 10 drones to build a protected base as a Zerg, and when 10 zealots come, it will be destroyed anyway. To build a protected Protoss base, you need 1 worker in 47 seconds, and 20 links, the equivalent of 10 zealots, won't even leave a scratch on it. Now, 20 links is not the equivalent of 10 zealots. 20 links cost 500 minerals, while 10 zealots cost 1000 minerals. 20 links are 10 supply, while 10 zealots are 20 supply. They are not equal whatsoever. If you believe 20 Zerglings and 10 zealots to be equal, then you're wrong. It goes on. So, is it Imba? Yes, it is. For sure. I thought that for sure was this guy's name, but that's just how he ended this email. It is what it is. The name is Luzerg. Luzerg. So like loser, but then Zerg. Race is Zerg. League is Diamond and the MMR is 3950 on the European server. And the question that is asked here is, are cannons, or I guess buildings in general, Imba, or do I suck? And we're here to find out. The only true way to find out is to do some research over here on Glittering Ashes. Chuda. Sounds like the start of a catchy French song. Chuda. La 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 la. Chudo. Anyway, Protoss versus Zerg here on Glittering Ashes. So we see our Zerg player opening up with a standard type of opener. Overlord at a normal time. This is the type of stuff, you know, that keeps my heart at a very normal heart rate, which is important as well. Because very often on the Thursdays, you know, if I have a doctor's meeting on the Friday, my heart rate will still be at 160, 170 the day after. It's like, oh, high heart rate. Did an IO this again? I'm like, yes, doc. Did an IO this again. This is going to be an early pool. I think this was a 16 pool, so that is a little bit different, but it's a build that I don't even mind that much. You know, it's a twist. And in these lower levels, like the diamond, even if this is relatively high diamond, this type of build can catch your opponent off guard and can, you know, can trick your opponent, can force them to do an incorrect response. Even at the higher levels, sometimes at lower Grandmasters, I see Protoss players respond very poorly to an early pool because it is different from what they're used to. Okay, this is a Nexus first into a Forge. I don't think this is necessarily good against an early pool, but it at least is a very straightforward defense for an early pool defense. Because you just have to build a cannon. Like if you're not planning on building a quick gateway, this makes life a lot easier. Perhaps Exactitude even was planning on a cannon rush. It could also have just been that this is how he likes to open, with Nexus first into Forge. It is a relatively you know, economically sound opener. There's a probe on the map as well. It's probably going to proxy something by the time the gateway and the cybernetics core finishes up, as 6 links are now constructed. Forge is here. Now, one of the reasons, of course, why on lower levels we also often see 16 pool is because 16 pool is really good against cannon rush. And at the lower levels, cannon rushes against Zerg are still relatively common. Ooh. I dig that. Oh, yes, I do. I actually really like that as an opener. Cannon. 6 links through a cannon. Don't like the movement here. In this type of scenario where you're moving through a cannon, what you want to do is minimize the amount of time that the cannon has to attack your unit. If you've played any amount of tower defense, you know exactly where to place your cannons in the tower defense maze for the optimal amount of damage to these units. Now here you are basically the creeps in tower defense. So what you do is you go in, you move towards the left side, and that way you would have kept 1 extra link alive. And in, well, let's face it, that is a big percentage here of the amount of links that you have. If you have 4 links and instead of 4 now you have 3, that is a 25% less links than otherwise you would have had. Or otherwise, if you go from 3 to 4, you now would have 33% more links that you otherwise would have had. So that's a very big increase. You know, that's going from 100 euros to 133 euros. That's huge. Your control here on the links also isn't exactly perfect, but you do force off a lot of mining. That's a kill on the... Yeah, okay, well, could have done that for free probably. Should have been a kill there on the probe. This Protoss is still taking... I love this base. It's so fast. It's hidden. This is the type of stuff that if you do this in a lower level game, you're going to get away with it. Guaranteed. I'll guarantee you that. The one thing I am kind of worried about though, is the fact that we do not have a single unit out so far, 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Another thing that worries me is that we see 27 workers out currently on the map, which already is quite low. And we also already see 3 gases being taken. The faster you take your gases, the worse your eco is. I also can't imagine anything that requires 3 gases at this point in the game, unless you're planning on doing like a Nidus of 2.5 bases, or I guess 1.5 base, because you don't even have proper saturation on your natural yet. This entire setup makes no sense. You're getting link speed, so it's not going to be a fast Roach Nidus. It's not going to be a Queen Nidus, which, by the way, let's face it, would work. So for what you have scouted is that your opponent hasn't taken any gas whatsoever. You see probes moving towards a 3rd base. And you also see no gas over here. You could just be sending in this Overlord for free to check when the gases are taken. As long as no gases are taken, you don't need to build any units. You can just literally purely build drones and maybe get 8 links. So you could have denied this base. Because there wasn't a single unit, not a single unit, to get this base up. Now, cannons take 29 seconds and pylons take 18 seconds. You put these two together, you have 47 seconds. That gives you 47 seconds before there would be anything to defend this base. If you have 4 links here, or you have 2 links on this base and 2 links on this base, your opponent would simply be incapable of expanding at any time. It would be impossible. You could not imagine a pylon being built and then a cannon being constructed. Like, the moment you see that, you can just send all 4 of your links there, take out the cannon. It would cost a lot of money for the Protoss to do that, and you're denying an entire base with just 4 cannons, while your opponent doesn't have any units. That would be a fantastic situation. Right now, though, because you haven't droned up very much, and your macro in the early game wasn't brilliant, as you were down like 12 workers or so, after your 6 links entered his main base, and he had no units to defend. Right now, you're down 30 workers, but despite that, I still like your position, because your opponent has nothing. Now, this is obviously not a very bright call, splitting up 12 links to go into different types of cannon setups. Go for a Baneling bust on the cannon, the battery, and then go for the probe. Now, in this type of scenario, usually, you know what? Usually here I'd say it's a good call to send the Banelings in towards your opponent's mineral line. But in this specific case, where there is no units, your opponent has 0 units. Unit stab is empty. Only probes, 64 probes. You could just kill the pylon with your Banelings, or kill the batteries and the cannons, and then just have the links deal with the links. Because there are no units to defend. He has nothing. If you kill the static defense, this base is undefended. There is nothing here to fight your units, because there are no fighting units coming out of your opponent. All your opponent is actually just expanding. Your opponent is literally just expanding the entire time. This is a, well, it's a 5th base, I guess. No, yeah, 5th base, because this was the 4th, this was the 3rd. This is a 6th, this is a 7th, and while you're killing 1 base, he's constructing 5 more. Now, that is completely fine, because this was a bad trade for your opponent. You lost like 20 workers. You took out this base, which is a big investment. This was a very good fight. The next move that you're going to make, which would make sense to me, is either bust this or check if there are any other bases that you can take out. You have a crap ton of links. You have Banelings as well. You have an infinite amount of gas, because for whatever reason you decided to take 3 gas, which you're never going to be able to spend, obviously. And now you find the next base and you're like, okay, I think I can take this out as well. And honestly, I agree with that. So we see some major focus on this cannon, some major focus on that as well. Now, your macro behind this isn't exactly brilliant. I mean, you're floating 17 larvae and a bunch of... Ooh, more links? Instead of drones, okay. Now I'm starting to get a little worried. At some point you will need to drone up. And just taking out bases, especially with the speed that you're doing, isn't good enough. Right now there's also a full wall here. And there is no reason for you to try and bust a full wall if you're up 2 bases in your mind. Because your scouting hasn't been brilliant. You're not aware of the fact that there's a base here, a base here, or a base here. So with the information that you have, the best thing to do for you would probably be to drone up and make sure there are no outside bases that are mining. This base is completely useless. I mean, it's great that your opponent invested 600 minerals in cannons, a battery, 700 minerals, 2 pylons, 900 minerals, 2 assimilators, 1040 minerals, plus a nexus into it, 1440 minerals, but there's not going to be any return on this nexus anytime soon. So you don't give a crap about this nexus yet. If anything, you can get your opponent to build more workers here, and then when the target is juicy enough, you can say, okay, now I want to bust it, now I want to kill it. The same here. Why would you want to bust a wall like this if you do not know if there's any other bases around? If you scout this base and take it out, and you drone up 20 more workers, you'll be up legit 20 workers, because there's about 20 workers here, and right now you're down 20 workers. So you build 20, you kill 20, boom, just like that. It shifts in your advantage. Instead of that, you're going to attack into a 2-base Protoss player. You decide to bust 2 buildings at the same time. Then allow your opponent to wall you out with another pylon, while half of your army, not even like 1/10 of your army, is attacking a single cannon. Then the rest of your links get sent to the left side now that you have finally breached. This makes absolutely no sense. Wait, are you aware of this base? You are aware of this base. Like, you literally just breach your opponent's main base, and now you're sending half of your offensive resources to another side. I guess you're still going to kill everything here anyway. This is not going to be enough. Oh, you're going to kill the probe. Actually, that was a good call. I would have preferred if you would have cleared this first than that, but I don't mind it too much. Right now, once again, you're clearing literally 30 workers. These 44 links, if they were just 22 drones at this point, you'd be so far ahead. Even now, you're extremely far ahead. The only thing that sucks is that your opponent finally is starting to build units. They finally realized that you can build units in this game that can attack links. Oh, he attacked his own thing because these probes were stuck. I was like, why would he do that? Just empowered some buildings. Spire on the way. Okay, because you scouted the Stargates. Actually makes some sense. I wouldn't mind a Spore either. I don't quite understand the Roach Warren. The scout here... You've got to explain this game to me. How is this diamond? And not just diamond, you know. Diamond is a large range. This is the very top of diamond on my server. This is about... What is it? 2,500 MMR below me. I can't believe this is this close. Anyway... You scout 4 Stargates, or 3 Stargates you scout, and your response is to get a Roach Warren, Baneling Speed, and a Carapace upgrade. I feel like there are more pressing issues right now than a Roach Warren, Baneling Speed, and a Carapace upgrade, as you just busted your opponent's base. But, you know, who am I? I've only been playing this game for 12 years. Once again, you're floating 13 larvae, while also having 500 minerals and 400 gas in the bank. I just don't understand how this is possible. It is a miracle to me. You also don't have a single spore prepared, despite scouting all of these Stargates, and once again, scouting the fact that there are oracles on the way. Now 2 oracles are going to enter your main base, and you start building a spore. This is this level of anticipation has rarely ever been shown before. The last time this was done was when the Netherlands, before World War II, decided that we were gonna stay neutral. Except the opposing army didn't agree with it and attacked us, and we weren't very ready. This is a very similar situation that you find yourself in. You decided to have no preparation whatsoever for the oracles and just take the damage. You've also killed 105 workers. How is this base still alive? I just don't even understand truly what's happening here. I'm not entirely... This is the first time you're building works again, like a minute or 4. This entire game, to me, just makes no sense. From start to finish. What your opponent did made no sense. What you are still doing currently makes no sense. This base is empty. It doesn't even have a cannon. If you knew that this base existed, 6 links could force either these oracles to use their energy here, or you could kill every single worker for free. This is just a complete lack of scouting and a lack of knowing what to do. You also have a spire and there's nothing that shoots up. You could build 3 mutas and these oracles would not be capable of dealing with it. You could build 3 corruptors and you could take out all yours. Why would you pull away from the spore here? It doesn't make any sense at all. It's not like there's 2 spores here. I guess you're building more spores, so in the future it would be safer. These decisions don't even make sense. There's a single spore here, there was 1 spore here, and there's no spores here. You send them into an area where they're for sure going to die. It literally makes no sense. What is this? I just wanted to go again because I couldn't believe what that Baneling just did. Look at these Banelings. Did he just manually detonate them on a Nexus? Like, what was more important at that moment than the Baneling control? I guess taking out the Assimilator requires your full attention. I cannot actually believe it is possible at this level to play a game where you don't build units for, what was it, 9 minutes? While your opponent is Ling Bane busting from 35 workers. And you win. This is so unreasonable. Like, it really just is so unreasonable. I just don't understand it. Like, actually. Sure glad we built the Roach War. Look at all these roaches that we've built this game. Wow, none of them on the units lost tab. None of them currently in the units tab. He actually built a single corruptor. I can't believe that a single corruptor could have won this. Look at this. Imagine we would have had 2. You would have been capable of fighting these phoenixes as well. Ah, come on. You can't be serious. Man, I was having a good time roasting this guy, and then the Protoss pulls in. That's just a dick move, isn't it? That's just not nice. I don't understand why that was necessary. Ah. Now I feel a little bit bad. Look, I'm all for a little bit of banter and even bad manner. If your opponent is bad manner, that's fine. This Zerg wasn't bad manner. He just played poorly, didn't scout. Just don't offensive GG people. I actually think that's rude. I don't like that. Come on, man. Yeah, I really do not like that. Now, I kind of hope that loser would have won this game. But I know it's not going to happen because there's 9 workers. And, you know, he's moving the spores to the base where there's no workers. It's like these drones, they really enjoy dangerous things without any payoff whatsoever. It's like shattering a bottle of glass and then mixing it through your soup. It's like, what really is the purpose? Like, your soup isn't going to taste better. You might cut open your throat. It's not very fun either. It's not a fun risk, you know? There are fun risks to take, but this is not a... Like, why are you have 3 perfectly fine spores over here. Why would you be rallying your drones to that base? It just doesn't make any sense. I love how he transfers from the 4th base without any spores to the 3rd base that doesn't have any spores. Oh, we weren't safe at this edge. Now we're not safe at this edge. Well, that's a great change of scenery over here, at least. Can you looking at this? What even is this? Like a conveyor belt that carries gold. The gold is floating on top of it as well, if you pay attention to it. It doesn't abide by the laws of gravity. Fantastic stuff. For void raising construction, in production, whatever it is, and more bases. Obviously more bases and more probes. I feel like Exactitude really took the probes and pylon lesson very serious, whereas the Day 9 daily back in 2011 was like, alright, This is how he's been playing for the past 11 years. Four Void Rays make their way into the main. See that there's one spore and a drone. Kill the drone and piss off. Yeah, 2 queens and transfuse, you actually can do something, but not forever. I mean, there's Void Rays, there's Overlords that are just empty here. Spire's gonna get sniped. I was kind of hoping. I was kind of hoping that a couple of drones maybe could save this, but this is just going to be practically impossible. This is a sad ending. If Exactitude wouldn't have... Oh, my, even GG's. I think it takes a very big person, you know, mentally strong to GG. I'll give you that. You know, you have Luzerk, despite all your flaws, your failures as a human being, your general poor play, you have strong mental resilience, and you're gonna get there eventually. If someone aggressively GG's you after only building probes and cannons for the first 9 minutes, and you tap out while saying GG, that is some solid mental resilience, and I applaud you for it. What I don't applaud you for, however, is your, well, piss poor decision making, your terrible opener with the fast 3 gas while going for a 2-base Baneling bust. If your plan is to go for a 2-base Baneling bust, I honestly believe you don't require a quick layer, which is 100 gas that you could have saved, also 150 minerals that you could have saved. You wouldn't need a 3rd gas either, and you probably could have slightly more drones on top of that as well. I think all of these definitely would be considered mistakes. Your priority with the targeting of the Banelings was almost always incorrect. Very often you just could have cleared the pylon, which would have depowered the cannons and the batteries. Rather than doing that, you just kind of go first on the cannon, then on the battery, then on the cannon again, or in like the 2nd cannon. It isn't brilliant. You waited too long with breaching the natural of your opponent as well, which allowed him to get a wall, which made that a lot more expensive. You never scouted for any of the outside bases, where sometimes, for example, on, what was it, like the 8th base, there was just a bunch of probes without any cans, but even the far left side base or the right side bases were pretty vulnerable for a very long period, honestly, especially when the Stargates weren't up on that right side base yet. You definitely could have busted that a bit earlier. You should have droned up like 50 times during this game. You said your micro, macro, and multitask were great. You didn't have to multitask once. The only multitasking you did was trying to run Banelings into a mineral line while simultaneously Zerglings destroying a main base of your opponent. But they did that fine by themselves because there was nothing else left there to control. When you actually had the micro, you popped Banelings into a Nexus for some reason. Your initial split of Zerglings in your first push, I forgot about that, where you sent 6 Zerglings to the dead on the right side and 4 Zerglings to the dead on the left side, made no sense whatsoever either. So yeah, your micro, well, your macro, you're consistently floating larva as well, which it doesn't even make any sense. That's the thing that often pisses me off, is that if you're bad at something, at least let it make sense. Like, if you can't control 2 armies at the same time, that makes sense to me. That's difficult. But injecting is difficult. It requires time. Pressing your hotkey for your hatcheries, then select larva, and then holding down the drone button for 2.5 seconds does not even require any effort. You don't even have to look at it. And yet I see you consistently floating 18 larva. And that is something I don't understand. I also don't understand why, if you scout 4 Stargates producing oracles, why you wouldn't get a single spore or a single corruptor if you have a spire out. Why is the priority to get a Roach Warren and nothing else? Why do you pull drones into oracles while you have a spore defending that base? Just a lot of things didn't make any sense. And I'm not even sure if you suck necessarily. It doesn't feel like your mechanics are that bad. It just feels like you're not doing the right thing with the mechanics. I just actually do not understand why you do the things that you do. And that's what frustrates me. And that's why, sadly, I have to tell you, my friend, that you suck. And that not building units for 9 minutes and then going into 4 oracles is not actually imbalanced. You actually just suck. I'm sorry. Alright, that's going to be it for today's episode of Beating Grandmaster with Stupid Stuff. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you for watching, and bye. Bye.